Meeting to order.
Thank you.
We'll excuse Mayor Kronen as she's out of town, and I will be filling in for her this evening. Councillor Edmonds, would you like to offer prayer and get us started?
Heavenly Father, we're thankful for the opportunity we have to meet tonight to discuss things pertaining to the town. We're thankful for the opportunity we've had to have a great season so far and being able to work together. We're thankful that we were spared from any major damage during the latest flood event, and we ask that thou would continue to watch over and protect us. Bless us that we may be able to see things progress this evening in a manner pleasing unto thee, and this we ask unto thee in thy Son Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Councillor Edmonds. So on the agenda, I would just like to add one point. We'll call it 7E on the Cultural Days grant.
Would you just check your mics and make sure they're on, please?
That better?
There you go.
Mine on? Is mine on? I can't.
If it's green, it's on. If it's red, it's not.
Just keep hitting buttons, I haven't got my pen to click.
Kids and their toys.
Okay, so we'll try that again. So on item 7E, if you want to add that in, we'll just have a quick little conversation about the Cultural Days grant. Any other comments on the agenda?
Put it up.
All in favor? Thank you. All right, so we have some delegations here this evening. Floyd, are you being joined by anybody? Lloyd?
Lloyd or Lloyd?
Did I say Floyd? I meant Lloyd.
Floyd and Lloyd.
No, I'm looking at you, Lloyd.
Well,
Sorry.
I wondered. I thought you were looking at me when you said Floyd, so I didn't know. I thought Horton was going to be here, but I guess he won't be.
Okay. Did you want to then turn the floor over to you and make your presentation to us? Thank you.
Where's that button there?
Should be in good shape now.
So now you can hear me?
Yeah.
Acting Mayor and Council, I'm here to make a report to you on the part of the peace officer and liaison of councillors' positions. As we are all well aware, there are problems with vagrant people who hang out on Main Street. The RCMP have in fact charged people with panhandling, loitering, and drug dealing on Main Street. Believe it or not, the panhandling and loitering offenses in the cases that I'm aware of are still in fact pending, as the accused have both pled not guilty. In the drug dealing offense, it was dismissed as the bylaw did not at the time define efficiently the issues with which the subject was charged. That has since been rectified. We realize that these people are human beings and need to be treated with respect. Pushing them from one corner to the next is not accomplishing anything. In the months of April and May of 2014, more than 250 man-hours have been dedicated to foot patrols and trying to get these clients into detox. The biggest problem we have with getting subjects into detox is what to do with them once they have gone through the 7-day detox program. St. Paul's Treatment Center is consistently overbooked, and there is no room for local people in their programs, as this center takes in clients from all over Alberta. We constantly and consistently ask the vagrants to move along and not stand around inhibiting pedestrians. We feel there has been an improvement, although it has been minor. We are in the process with the Blood Tribe in trying to reinstitute the work program for the vagrant people, which we started a couple of years ago, and it worked really well until some of the people said, no, we want to be paid when we do the job. not wait for a week to get paid through the Blood Tribe FCSS. So that's been a bit of a problem. Horton has been working with many of these people and working with the fine option program. And this has been working fairly well. Citizens have in fact stopped Horton and mentioned how much they appreciate seeing the program in process. We have in the past tried to create a drop-in center for these people to help get them off the street. However, due to liability issues, that was squashed. We will attempt to see if the Blood Tribe can reopen the Moccasin Flats Police Sub-Office to this purpose. It's not in what I've written for you, but Horton reported to me just this morning that he tried to contact the powers that be in the Blood Tribe in standoff, and because of the flooding last week, they weren't able to keep their appointment with him. So we're hoping that we'll be able to get up there within the next week or so. I believe that we are all of the same opinion that the alternatives to the Bengry program is finding something and somewhere else for these people, something else for them to do and to be. We feel that if we can find the right location and the right programs to get these people involved in, our problem would be resolved. Past attempts to do this within the Moses Lake shelter were hindered by the problems of finance and staffing of the shelter. We are not giving up. We will continue to work with the powers that be to help resolve this problem. One thing that has been noted is that as we do projects like the work program, more First Nations people come into the Cardston area trying to be part of the program. So we've been getting people from Obima and other areas like up by Laverne and Standoff coming down into the Moses Lake area and coming into Cardston trying to be part of the program because they think it works so good. And yet, the ones that we want to get off the street are the ones that want to be paid up front, and I'm not about to pay somebody up front for a job they haven't done. The plan is now to work with the Blood Tribe to reinstitute this program and specify the individuals that we feel need to be part of the program and help both communities, both the Moses Lake community and Cardston community. This would include cleaning the public places that require cleaning in Cardston and the highways leading into Cardston. Also, we would propose that some of this program could be used to either remove or paint over graffiti in the Moses Lake community with the homeowners' cooperation and permission, of course. We welcome any ideas that you may have that will help these people feel like they're contributing citizens rather than being a hindrance to all of us. This is an ongoing process and experience for all of us. Respectfully submitted by Horton and myself.
Thank you.
If you have any suggestions or questions, I'd be glad to field.
Any questions from council? Councillor Bengry.
Lloyd, can you tell me what the work project was?
The work project?
Yes.
Well, we had, I think it was 2 years ago, we had actually cleaning Main Street. We also had them painting the yellow curbs in the no parking areas on Main Street and on some of the side streets. We had them cleaning up along Lee Creek, where, I don't know if you've been down by Lee Creek, between anywhere from First Avenue up to the bridge, but there was really bad. There was bags and bags and bags of garbage coming out of there.
And we'd pay them per bag of garbage?
No, we were paying them by the hour.
By the hour?
Yes. And we
Was
had
it
somebody
working?
there. Pardon me?
Was it working?
Yes, it was at the time.
And who supervised this?
Myself or Horton.
Did that put quite a pull on your man hours?
Well, no, it didn't increase my man hours in any way, shape, or form, but it pulled me away from other things at times. But if I had to leave, I would call Horton and ask Horton to come down while I go and look after any complaint that I may have received.
Now, you suggested that it brought other people in from other areas, so that they could be paid for the work that they're doing.
Yeah.
Can you give us some kind of an idea how many people come in?
Well, if I take my lead from what the RCMP told me, they probably doubled it.
Really?
Yeah. From Laverne, Standoff, and Hobema area.
Is that because they don't have programs of their own?
That's what I understand.
If I might just add to that, that's one of the things that when we're able to set up that meeting with the Blood Tribe, we will address. Because we're trying to deal with this situation here, not create further problems, right?
Yeah.
So it will have to be addressed during that discussion.
And we have noted that in our request.
Lloyd, have you got any ideas of how to do this work project more efficiently? Because you worked right with the project, and I'm just wondering if you can give us some kind of ideas. I like the idea.
I haven't made the proposal yet, but I have an idea in my mind that we would pay these people anywhere from $10 to $15 an hour, and the ones that we pay $15 an hour would be the ones that we know that are reliable enough that they would make sure that the job gets done. So that we actually have one of them supervising their own people. There are a couple of them that I can think of offhand that could probably use the work, but aren't able to get full-time work anywhere right now.
Marian, where did the money come from?
We do have some money in the bylaw budget, and we would cooperate with the Blood Tribe FCSS. What we did last time was we split, it was 50-50, but they are paid through FCSS in stand-up.
And the money was coming from the Blood Tribe?
Yes.
Councillor Creed, did you have something?
I would like to ask Lloyd, with the project, you said you brought in other people, but how was the enrollment in this program determined? Like, was it determined through the legal system? People that had like fine options type program, or?
No, the fine options program is what we're operating under right now,
Okay.
and it's working fairly good, but we don't pay them under the fine option program.
Okay.
What we were doing is Horton and I would go around and talk to some of the people that were standing around on the street and say, hey, we got a job for you to do, you want to come and do it?
Okay. So
Most often they would say, yeah, if you're going to pay me $10 an hour, I'll come and do it.
So that was when other people would just come and stand on the street to.
And then we started getting other people from other
Okay,
areas.
that's kind of what I was trying to determine, is how
they found
this.
out about it, I guess, through the grapevine that, hey, Carson's got a program, let's go down there and use it.
Okay, how that leaked out. Okay.
Okay. Any other questions from
Yeah.
council?
I'm really interested in this program. Lloyd, could we use these people in other areas, like our ball diamonds and the Lions Park and...
Well, I don't think Parks and Recreation want them getting involved in their work. If it's got
No, if it's
machinery and
just
that kind of
cleaning
thing,
cleaning up, painting light standards and stuff like that?
well, that would have to be something that would have to be decided by the...
Marian?
Yeah, just to add a comment to that, one of the concerns is we can't spread the people out too much in the community, because then the supervision becomes difficult. So we try to pick projects that we can kind of have 2 or 3 people working in one location, and then that helps with Horton and Lloyd having to supervise.
Thank you. Anything else?
Just clarification. So right now, the work program, when they're assigned to work and they're not being paid, explain how that works. I guess I'm missing.
Fine
No,
option.
Fine option, yeah.
The fine option program is something that Horton is looking after,
Right.
and he actually supervises them. He'll come to the office and pick up some bags and take them out and tell them, okay, I want this area cleaned up, and they have to clean it up. And then he reports back to the RCMP whether or not the time has been put in or not.
It's in place of them paying a fine that they've been given by the courts. So they work it off, basically.
So it's a court-imposed fine, and then they're just basically working that off.
Correct. So it's coordinated through the justice system.
Is there a shortage of people on that list, or hours that need to be worked, or?
It's not always an option,
Right.
so
And they have to choose to do it.
Right.
Okay, one more question for me. Lloyd, when we were doing this work project, did we have them collaborating on the steps of the hotel and on the wall at the Royal Bank?
Well, that's where we would normally go and get our employees.
Your employees?
And then, but that's where the problem with Laverne and Standoff and Obima came in. They would come in and sit on the steps waiting for us to come and ask them. I mean, it's almost like the migrant workers in Texas and Southern California. They wait for the bus to come along and pick them up and take them to work.
Councillor Cruz?
Yeah, Lloyd, I just had, wanted to understand the difference between you talked about the 7-day detox program and the St. Paul's Treatment Center. Where does the detox program, is that separate? Is that
Yes.
totally separate from the?
Yeah, the detox center is up in Fort McLeod,
Uh-huh.
and when they sign in there, they're in for 7 days.
Mhm.
But when they come out, they've got no place to go other than right back to the street again.
Okay,
In most cases, we try to get them into St. Paul's, but every time we contact St. Paul's, they're full.
okay, so the detox is basically just to dry them out, basically.
Yeah, it's
But
just a
it doesn't
dry
give them any long-term
No, it's not a long-term treatment or
treatment,
plan
and the
to.
St. Paul's gives a long-term,
Yeah, St. Paul's is to help them learn without any substances, substance abuse.
so are you aware what they do at St. Paul's? What kind of treatment they give?
Well,
them?
I have a vague idea. It's probably very similar to the one they have in where I came from before, Nanaimo. And they actually, you have to be in there, and you're in there for, I think, anywhere from 3 to 6 months, depending on how fast you can recover and prove that you can go back into society without having a problem with any kind of a substance. Sniffing glue, drinking, whatever they have.
Lloyd, can you see any kind of a way of identifying our local people for this work project?
Horton knows them pretty well. That's why I'm glad that Horton, actually, when I started here, when I found out Horton was the liaison person, that he knows just about everybody on the street.
If we're moving them off the street, that's a big plus,
Yeah.
you know, and just to move them off the street, give them something to do. I don't know how the city of Lethbridge does it with golf gardens and their areas, but if it's moving them off our street and giving them something to do, giving them a purpose in life, then I'm all in favor for it. If you can figure out some kind of way of identifying our people, you know, our local people.
Yeah, well, that's what I say, you know, Horton knows most of them anyway, and he would know which ones are the biggest problems, and those are the ones that we would be targeting. Of course, some of them are gonna say, no, I don't wanna work. I know I've had some start working with me down on Lee Creek there, picking up garbage, and then all of a sudden one of them say, oh, I got a doctor's appointment. You know, and you can't, you have to still treat them like
Exactly.
civilized people, and you can't just say, oh, you're pulling my chain, don't give me that kind of nonsense, because then you're being prejudiced.
One last comment. I've heard a couple of people just say, hey, we have good bylaws in place. You know, maybe we have an enforcement problem. We're not enforcing the bylaws that we already have. How would you answer that one?
Okay.
What would you say to that one?
I-
I mean, personally, I think you're doing a great job, Lloyd.
I'm surprised that question didn't come up earlier. The biggest problem with giving tickets out to vagrant people is, one, they can't pay the fine anyway. So, and two is, how do you find them when it comes to court? I mean, it's easy to give somebody a bylaw ticket, but then if they don't pay the bylaw ticket, then you have to write a provincial ticket. It's still a bylaw ticket, but it's under the Provincial Act. And then if they don't show up for court, you gotta try to find them. And even if they do show up for court, they're not gonna pay, they don't have the money to pay the fine. So then only if the judge decides they can go to the fine option, their hands are tied. And as a point of interest, I just found out today that as of today, I am no longer able to get license plate registrations from the RCMP. So if I'm gonna give somebody a parking ticket, I have to have them there to give them the parking ticket. I can't just leave it on the window anymore,
Why is that?
because it's against the CPIC policy.
Retro bylaw?
No, it's Canadian Police Information Center policy that they don't give information out to bylaw officers or peace officers.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Seeing as our next delegation's not here currently, why don't we move on to the adoption of minutes from June 10th, from regular council.
I'll make the motion. To adopt those
So moved. Any discussion? All in favor? Thank you. A business arising, A, the letter to the blood tribe regarding the powwow. Has everybody had an opportunity to review the letter that Mayor Kronen is suggesting we move forward as a follow-up letter?
Why are we beating this to death? If they didn't answer the first one, you think we're gonna get an answer from the second one?
That's a good question. I don't know the answer to that, but I do think it's probably worthwhile sending a follow-up letter.
So this is the second year in a row when it's been canceled.
Correct.
So what is the problem here?
Well, that,
Councillor Creed should know. something
Yeah,
else going on,
I can answer that probably a little better, and I don't know if it's the same reason really this year as it was last year when it was counciled, that we basically had to do with funding from the blood tribe, is that they hadn't been forthcoming with any contribution, and we really couldn't go ahead because there was no finances. I think this year, they actually did give us some money. However, the people from Moses Lake that we were working with, let me think how I can say that. Okay.
Felt like they were not true representatives.
They have a Moses Lake committee, and they have people who are working with us on the powwow, and this is supposed to be a Moses Lake Cardston powwow. The Moses Lake committee said, you don't have any official representatives from the Moses Lake committee on your powwow committee. So powwow committee invited official representative from the Moses Lake committee, and they said, we will come if you get rid of all of the people that are presently on your on your powwow committee. Well, you don't stab your friend, your people that are in the back. So it was kind of an impasse there that we
Power struggle.
it's like choosing between two of your children. You have to choose between this one or that one, and we just felt that we couldn't, that we were damned either way. We couldn't make that choice and say we go with the people who we're working with, and then if these people don't like us or they won't support us, or if we go with them, then we have to kick off the people that we've already got. So.
Well, the people that worked on that powwow committee have worked on it ever since the inception of the powwow.
And that's what.
And they live right in Moses Lake. It was just an individual, I felt, that put up the ruckus.
That it was a mess.
Yeah.
Regardless, it was canceled, and we just need to make a decision whether or not we'd like to forward this letter on. Because the mayor can't send it without council's approval. Marian?
I think one of the important factors for this is we are holding their $5,000 currently, and so we need to meet with them and see if there's another way that we can kind of work together culturally. And if they want to use that money to fund it, if not, we'll give it back, right?
And if you remember in the original letter, that was the point of it, is let's come up with some additional ideas here that we can use this funding for to help to foster some goodwill.
When's our cultural days?
In September. So
September.
we might keep that in mind as we
Get to the next issue.
Maybe we should put that in the letter that we would consider using that in our cultural days for their addition to our cultural days.
It was in the original letter that we would like to do something with them jointly with that funding.
So this letter is just a follow-up letter. If you review it again, it's just saying, look, we sent this letter, please respond to the letter we sent. I don't think we need to reiterate everything that we
No.
sent in the first letter. That information was in that first letter.
I don't see a problem with sending this letter. I think we should do that. Do we need a motion on
Yeah.
that? Okay, I'd like to make that motion that we send this letter off to the chief and council and.
Any further discussion on that?
Yes. I'd suggest we address it right to the chief, period. Not to chief and council, because there must be somebody that's intervening, and not that letter is not going to council. So if we address that letter right to the chief,
Weaselhead?
yeah, Weaselhead, Charlie Weaselhead, he might get it. And use his personal address.
Marian, what's your thoughts on that?
We could address it like just strictly to the chief. I don't know that using his personal address is appropriate when it's going, it really is going to chief and council, right? Just like anything that would go to the mayor is mayor and council, so
Yeah.
I would be hesitant about that.
But we know what comes to mayor and council comes to mayor and council. We don't know the involvement of what's happening with this letter here, out there.
We could potentially email it to his email address, but
That's
You can
probably,
send a
I think
letter
that's
and
probably
email.
more, I think that's
Right.
probably more appropriate. Send the letter to chief and council and send
And email them
an email copy of it.
Yeah,
Copy to him.
Okay.
that's good. I can put that in the motion too.
Okay. Would you like to reword your motion for us?
I amend my motion to send this letter to the chief and council and also an email copy to the chief.
Okay. Any other discussion? All in favor? Thank you. I see our delegation has arrived, so why don't we drag Darren, and that doesn't look like Alana. If you'd like to come address us, Darren, that'd be great.
Awesome, thanks so much. First of all, sure appreciate you giving us the opportunity to meet with you tonight and share some of our thoughts and feelings with you as we have put a petition before council for a request for donation.
Thank you, Darren.
Just got two documents here I'd like to provide you with. Yep.
just one's fine, that's good. Thank you.
So the first one's just kind of a summary, and the second one here is current fundraising levels, but might be of interest to the council here to see where we're sitting.
Thank you.
So basically, as you know, we, as the Carriage House Theatre Foundation, have started a digital or dark campaign, and that campaign in essence is to bring movies back to the theater. I'm sure you probably know that our world around us has evolved, and 35 millimeter projected images are no longer even being made by Hollywood cinema companies. And so the antique projector that we've got really needs to find its way to a museum. And we need to get up with the times and kind of get caught up and be able to continue this service of providing movies to our community. We know that the community is, I guess, for simpler terms, just it's really a benefit to the community to have the option of attending the theater and especially the movies here in town. We know that it's certainly been well received by the community at large over the past, and we'd like to continue to make that service available to the community. I'll just take a second and I'll just highlight for you, this is not a profit-making venture that the Carriage House Theatre undertakes. In 2013, profit was less than $2,000 for operating movies. In 2012, it was less than $700 profit. And in 2011, we had a better year, but it was still just barely over $4,000. So, and
All of which, Darren, if I may, that gets donated over to the theater side?
to the Theater Foundation,
Right,
yes.
so any profits that the one side sees just goes to help support the other side?
Exactly.
So it's all a non-profit, I just want to clarify.
Yes,
Yeah.
and I appreciate you bringing that up, because it has been a misconception that the Carriage House Theatre Foundation is a business. We are not a business, we are a charitable organization. And I'm sure you know what that means as far as charitable status and how hard that was to get, but it was obtained in 2007, as it indicates in the document that I've provided for you. So basically, why are we here? We're here to request the help of council. We have received some great funding, and you'll see on that spreadsheet that I've given you there, the little bar graph, business, personal, and other donations. Our goal is $72,000 for a new projector and sound equipment, and we are now at 57.4% of our goal. And that campaign has been in place for just over a month. We've just really been impressed with the amount of support we've received from the community. You know, it's very gratifying and heartwarming to see these young kids who are a part of our summer theater program, or single individuals or young families, young married couples that can barely scrounge together enough money for a good Sunday meal, making donations to something as important as this Digital Art Dark campaign, and they're doing that. And obviously that personal donation number of over $7,300 in under a month speaks to that, and how important it is for the youth and for all members of our community to, you know, maintain this service. You don't need me to go on ad nauseum. You have the request before you. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have, and to the best of my ability, and maybe I'll just give you an opportunity to do that.
Council, any specific questions you'd like to address?
I was just going to make a comment. I think our community has done wonderful things in support of the theater, but I don't know if council know. I've known Bob Russell for a long time, and Bob and I have talked a lot about the funding of the theater, and he was in my office just 2 weeks ago and explained to me the amount of money. I'm not going to mention the amount of money. It's a large, very large sum to which he's never collected a dime back, nor has he ever asked for it back. And a lot of people in the community don't know what a wonderful philanthropist Mr. Russell is. He's done a lot for, and we need to be very grateful for what he has done. And I think our community is to be commended, and my feeling is that we should do what we can do to support the cause too.
Councillor Bengry?
Darren, I hate to sound negative, but I'm going to. Movies now, you can rent them for $5 or $3. You can
Sure.
buy them for $3 at Walmart. When you are looking at a funding campaign of, what, $72,000?
Yeah, just over.
For digital equipment, and your income in selling tickets to go to the show is $700 a year?
Our profit, so that means after expenses, has been basically just break even.
See, business-wise,
Well,
that,
we're not a business.
I know,
Right.
but
We're
it just
in
does
community
not make
service.
sense. You know, is it gonna dwindle down as time goes on? This is my concern. Or are we gonna increase? I used to run those projectors when I was 17 years old, and that's many, many years ago, like I said, in here, 40 years ago or more.
When that wasn't an antique.
Yeah, well, it was carbon arc. And back then, Mrs. Bergen was concerned about the attendance at her theater because of the movie starting to come out, you know, and again, I know where the money's going to. Is there a better way of fundraising other than using the theater and obtaining this money on an ongoing basis?
Well, we're not doing it as a fundraising opportunity. We don't show movies to make money. We show movies to provide a service to our community. It's one of the things that we do as a Carriage House Theatre Foundation. Our mission statement is that we will educate, entertain, and I'm missing the other one. What is it?
Enrich, I think.
Enrich, entertain, and educate. Educate, enrich, and entertain citizens of the Cardston County. That is our mission statement. And so we believe we do that. We believe that this offering of these movies in a state-of-the-art digital, visual, auditory environment will only help us serve our mandate. And we're just here asking for help of council.
Councillor Creed?
Darren, I've just got a comment. It's slightly off topic, but maybe
Okay.
not. When you talk, and this is just some creative thinking here, but you mentioned your old projector needs to find its way to a museum. And my thinking is that, and Councillor Peavoy is going to talk about this too, because he's talked to me about it. Have you considered being that museum and maybe taking advantage of the fact of preserving some heritage? And you know, I'm just spinning a baby idea here, but I just wanted to just kind of shoot that out there so that maybe you might think about how we might could take advantage of what we have had, of the heritage that we've had, and maybe use that as an asset.
Yeah, well, first of all, I want to thank you for that baby of an idea, because that's how great ideas are born. And I can't answer on behalf of the board, but I can tell you that it sounds like a great idea to me. Now, our mission, as far as educating, enriching, and entertaining, we don't have the facility or the desire right now to create a museum or even a museum within our theater. But there's a beautiful museum next door that tells the history of this community. there's a possibility that that projector might end up there. There's, there are venues for maintaining that history, and keeping that item in our community would be a great one.
Darren, just out of curiosity, the other that's listed there, what's the source of those other donations?
I'm glad you asked. That other donations comes from our hot dog sales for the profit. We did 2 different hot dog sales on Friday. One was the 23rd of May, one was the 30th of May. Total donations and profit from those 2 days was over $4,200. So that's part of that $20,000. We did a bottle drive that netted us, I think, $40. We had an improv night. For those of you that heard of the improv night or attended our improv night, we profited over $1,600 on that improv night. And so we as a community theater have done a lot to help generate that money internally. We've done a lot of work. We've had a lot of volunteers come out and help cook hot dogs and sell and beat the bushes and those kind of things. And the balance is actually just about $14,000 that the Carriage House Theatre Foundation has invested in this Digital or Dark campaign. And we've done that with the help of an insurance check that was going to replace neon lighting. And after talking with our insurance company, they've approved that this was an acceptable use for that funding. And of course, we took, a bit of an insurance loss because we're not using it for this, for that. So I think there was between $2,000 and $3,000 that we, had the check deducted so that we could use it for this purpose instead of neon lights. And basically, it's more important for us that the light's on than the light's on outside.
Right.
And we'll worry about the lights on outside at another time.
Super. Just some thoughts I had, still having teenagers in my home. It's really nice to be able to have them go to the theater here than having to run to Lethbridge all the time and be on the roads late at night, because theaters get out late there. So it is something that I personally am supportive of, and I want you to know that you have that support from me. Thank you. Councillor Edmonds?
Addressing Councillor Bengry's concerns about being able to get a movie for $3. You can take that movie home, put it on your 24-inch TV set, and it doesn't do much for you. You go to the theater, you've got a $70,000 system, complete with multiple speakers, sound that will deafen you, which you can't get at home unless you get the $70,000 system. And the average person can't afford to do that, so I would be quite willing to pay $10 or $12 to go to the movie and hear the way how it was made. And you can't do that on your own system.
And I think the other part of it is it's also a social experience too, as opposed to cocooning in your basement.
Then my next question is this. Besides a digital movie camera, or whatever you want to call it.
Projector.
What else are you going to do to enhance that experience of going back to the movie?
Well, first of all, we have prime real estate in this community. We have probably the very best location there is for a theater. We have the people who volunteer there. We have, I guess if you're not having a great experience at the theater, I'm going to ask you, when was the last time you've come out and seen a movie in our theater? The staff there work very hard to make sure that the popcorn is fresh and tastes great, that the pop is top notch, is as good as you're going to get anywhere else. Our concessions are probably half the price they are in Lethbridge. You know, for the size of our venue and the distance we are from any major city, Lethbridge, of course, being the closest, we have, you know, I think we have a great value for your ticket price. And that shows in attendance. It also shows in the back end where Alana works very diligently with our movie provider to get national releases. And unless you've been living under a rock, you know that we've had some very amazing national releases, Hunger Games, you know, whatever, Twilight. They're here on national release, same as Lethbridge, Calgary, Edmonton. And that doesn't happen by people staying at home watching DVDs they're picking up from Walmart for $5.
I might add, if council, if we can be done tonight by 7 o'clock, there is a movie down there tonight. So,
Just one question for Darren. I know digital can do a lot of things that an old projector couldn't. I just was wondering if you could give us any clues on the capabilities. I know it's still a single point light source
Yes.
for the theater, but I'm just wondering if it has capabilities beyond, like, you know, the old theater can just basically just show, all it can do is show big movies of film.
Yes.
So what's the difference with capability of a digital projector? Like, can you hook your computer to it?
You bet you can. And that's actually how we do the advertising that we do. It's all run through digital input. And so it's really easy for us to blend. Let's say the town honors our request. And as such, you have a 30-second commercial that will be run every night before every show, and it will run for a year. If the town has a 30-second commercial, just a PR campaign, that's what we will run. Now, if you want us to simply use a couple of slides and, you know, do like a business card presentation, I'm sure you've been to the movie mill and you know what the most basic form of advertising is: a photograph, a little bit of text, and it stays up there long enough for you to read it and move on to the next one. But we can also use high-end commercials, and I'm sure Corey could attest to this. You know, whatever he can come up with and the magic that comes out of him or another artist for generating a commercial for this town, we've got no worries about presenting that.
Darren, would there be a possibility of using a digital projector to provide certain special effects for live theater as well? Is that a possibility?
You bet it is. You bet it is. And, you know, I mean, there's the possibilities are almost limitless as far as the increase in things that we can do over what we could have done or can do with our existing equipment.
Councillor Peavoy?
You know, Darren, I love the theater. I think it's a great service in the community. I think that by preserving movies here locally, we're preserving a lot of things here locally. You know, if you don't have to go to Lethbridge to watch your movie, then you don't have to go there to eat your dinner either, or you know, and spend your grocery money, etc. So we want to keep people here locally. This is a huge benefit to the local economy, the local community. I just get a little nervous when it comes down to saying, hey, here's a good cause, here's a charity that, by the way, I support 100%, and here's something I'm willing to vote public tax dollars toward. I get a little hesitant. Now, that being said, for me, the benefit here, the potential benefit is this advertising for the town. Transparency is a huge thing for us, and this might be, you know, a road way to get word out. Can you give us an idea of how much such exposure would cost us if we had to pay as we go?
Well, that was a question I was just gonna ask you, because I guarantee you that if you were to put that kind of advertising into a similar demographic, let's say you want to just target Raymond, and you want to do that through Global TV, or, you know, whoever, you're looking at probably at least double the amount we've asked for. And I guarantee you it won't run for a year.
So you're offering us half-price advertising, basically, if we
Well,
act now.
We're doing more than that. And when you talk about how it affects the dining and, you know, I mean, I don't have a breakdown here for you, but let me just tell you, I don't want to divulge, you know, we have sponsors who've asked to be anonymous, and we've asked, you know, we certainly honor that. This particular business did not request anonymity, but let me tell you that there's a neighbor we have who sees a great value in the business he gets pre-show, post-show, and has donated significantly more than the amount we are asking council for.
Jeff and I were just chatting here a little bit. There's maybe something that we could do using this as a bit of a marketing tool for the community. If there's a number of businesses that are contributors to this fund, we potentially could pool that money and apply for TDR funding, which potentially could double that investment if it's used as a marketing tool. So if there's businesses that have that interest in, if you're going to be advertising them for the year or whatever, if we could kind of pool that together, we would be able to manage it through our resources here. But we could potentially get some provincial funding for that marketing as well.
Sounds good.
So Darren, what I would ask is for you and your group to get together with administration.
Okay?
And see what you can do as far as pooling those businesses together and how that format actually needs to take place.
That'd be great. One thing I just wanted to throw out there, we've also received through the Alberta Treasury branch a link for Alberta Treasury branch cares.com, and basically what they do is they've taken all registered charities across Alberta for sure, and it might be nationwide. I'm not positive. I'm, you know, no branch manager. But what they've done is if any one of us goes to atbcares.com and selects the Carriage House Theatre Foundation in Cardston as our charitable organization, they will match 15% of whatever I donate. So I donate $1,000. They've just added $150 to my donation, and they're eating all administration costs. So they don't deduct off an administration cost. We don't get, you know, that $1,000 minus whatever their fee is. We get plus $150 for $1,000.
Councillor Edmonds, you had something you wanted to add?
As a point of interest, Carlson was one of the first theaters to start with talkies. So we set precedent there, and I think it's time we move into the digital age.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, and we certainly appreciate your help in doing so.
I just wanted to mention one other thing. What some of the theaters are doing in the larger centers, now they're showing operas, they're showing Broadway productions and hockey games and all kinds of different things that would be available now to us as a result of this type of technology.
Yeah.
And I think that would help enhance the experience and keep people in town. I think it's great.
You betcha.
Okay. Thank you, Darren, appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
And we'll discuss that further here later on in council.
Okay, and we will follow through and follow up with Jeff and Marian,
Okay.
and sure appreciate you. And thank you for your time this evening. Look forward to hearing the results of your deliberation.
Thanks, Darren.
Thank you.
Okay, next on our agenda is the Harlan Cahoon Golf Lifetime Membership.
Mr. Chairman.
Sorry.
Was there any intent to donate anything to this?
Did
or
we want to
do you
make
want
it-
us to come back with a proposal on
What
marketing
was
dollars?
council's thoughts on this? Would we like
I
to?
suggest you come back.
Yeah, I was just going to suggest that maybe we look into all those options, best ways to maybe tie in with other, magnifiers, so to speak. And personally, this is just me now speaking personally, I think I'd rather see it more of an approach of our kind of for advertising for the town rather than a donation to a charity. I think that, I don't know how it looks on the books. Maybe the donation to charity is better for us as a town, but.
6 of 1, half dozen.
Yeah, if it's all the same, I'd just rather this be marketing for the town, on principle,
On principle,
right?
I agree.
My only concern there is I do kind of see it more as an economic development issue.
Sure.
Surprise, surprise, I tend to see everything from the size of it. And so I am supportive of it just because of many of the points that you brought out with the, a lot of the economic support that generates for our community. So I wouldn't be opposed to entertaining making some kind of donation. That we've done donations to charitable organizations in the past. We have a budget set for that, right?
Our gears are going over here, so we'll come back with a proposal, because I think we can
Okay.
find a
Would
way
you want to
to
just table this for now?
make them some more money than just
No,
even
just
the
give them-
donations.
Right, super. So our next meeting is July 15th, is that
Yeah.
correct?
Oh,
So,
Yeah, so we'll have it back for the July 15th meeting.
super, that'd be great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so, next. Has everybody had an opportunity to read the letter from
I
Randy?
remember where it was on here, but I did read it.
It's in your background.
Oh, that's
It's in the background.
It's in the background.
That's right.
So, I guess my initial question is here is where are we as council leaning towards on this issue? Councilor Creed, did you have something you wanted to?
Yeah, because I've thought this from both sides, and in fact, I could even make a motion, but I'll hold that back for a minute. But I believe the intent is what we have to look at, and the intent for this lifetime membership was the lifetime membership of one person, or 2 people in this case, to enjoy the game of golf as long as they were able to play the game of golf. If a person gets run over by a car, that's the end of it. I mean, it doesn't, there wasn't an intent for an economic value. If there had been an intent for an economic value, then I would think differently. So I think the intent of that lifetime membership was for, like I say, the enjoyment of that person or persons to enjoy the game of golf as long as they were able, as long as their health and life permitted it. And that if there's a perception that he deserves something else for his contributions, then that's another discussion for another day, but it doesn't bear on this question right now.
Thank you.
That's my opinion.
Any other comments council would like to make in this regard?
I would agree with Councillor Creed.
Would one of our number like to make a motion in that regard then?
Yeah, I'll happily make that motion, that we write a letter to Harlan Boone and let him know that we go ahead and maintain our previous understanding of what lifetime membership is, and we, yeah, that's all we can do. I look at that as bad news, but, let's include our gratitude for his contribution in the past.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Thank you.
Can I just read that over, just to make sure?
Absolutely.
Sorry, moved by Councillor Peavoy that a letter be sent to Harlan Cahoon explaining that lifetime memberships are non-saleable?
Non-transferable.
Transferable, okay, and thank you for his past contributions to development.
Yep.
Maybe put it on there that
Or
just-
however administration chooses to reword that.
You don't want to take the blame.
It's all good, it's all.
Can't stand the heat.
Okay,
Hey,
so request for decisions.
yeah, I'm okay.
7A from the Cardston Flying Club.
Did you vote on that motion?
Oh, sorry, no, we did.
I thought we did.
Yes, we did.
Yes,
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 we did.
we did.
I just missed it. I apologize.
Oh,
Unanimous.
that's okay.
I remember raising my hand.
Yeah. All right, so the Cardston Flying Club, this is a request for some funding to help with the breakfast that they did.
Our long-standing tradition.
And it's a tradition that we've been doing it for some time. Mayor Kronen actually sent me an email with some thoughts on this, and her initial thoughts were, and she asked me to bring this to council, so I'm bringing it, that you can't double dip. And we were paying for our breakfast when we were there, and so she was not quite as in favor of supporting that. Councillor Bengry,
Since I'm the,
I thought you might have something to say on that.
since I'm the councillor in charge of the Flying Club, or representing the Flying Club, I'll make a motion that we support the Flying Club breakfast, as we have done in the last 4 years, or 3 years, with a $500 donation taken out of general revenues.
No, just,
Yes, Marian.
Just for clarification, the money is in the budget under the airport line item.
Then we'll take it out of that.
so one of the thoughts that I had on this is that my understanding is there is an opportunity for us to have this be an automatic thing each year. Given that council has supported this, and it's not a significant amount of money for the last few years, might be of interest just to put something in so that it becomes that.
Well, Mr. Chairman, because we have that money in the budget for the airport committee, then we could state to the committee that this will be an automatic withdrawal from there.
What I would suggest is that it just be not subject to a donation request.
Right.
Because future budgets, it may be eliminated, so I wouldn't want to say that it just be automatic, but that you wouldn't require a donation request, it would be a budget consideration on an annual basis. If that's a fair-
Then that'll be my motion.
Okay. Would you like to word that for us?
We'll word it.
Thank you. Any
What I
further
said.
discussion on that issue, Councillor Creed?
Okay. I think we can reach an agreement on that, because I was feeling the same as Mayor Cronin, that it didn't really fit our donation policy, because they do charge for that, but we do fund that organization, and as a budget item for the running or the supporting of the Flying Club, I have no problem with supporting that organization, and they can use that budget money however they want. I think we should get the county in on it too.
It's always a good idea. In the words of Councillor Curl out there, maybe we can shame them into doing something there, so.
I think they're about ready to come forward.
I suspect they are. So with that motion then, all in favor? All right, thank you. Tip interest. Let me just pull it up. Did the wrong thing here. There we go. So this is just a change on, actually not a change on our interest that's being charged for tip interest.
Paid.
Hey,
For, sorry, that we're paying, yes, not charging, paying. Everybody had a chance to review the numbers on it. I'd entertain a motion.
I'll make that motion to have the TIP program remain at 1.25%
For the year.
2014-15.
1.25.
Yep.
For the next 2014-15.
Yep.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Thank you. Next, Economic Development and Tourism Board, the Mural Project.
Could we request a delegation to come and maybe speak to him? No, since he's here.
Marian, would you like to?
I was just going to suggest that if council is in favor of these, this project in particular, what we'll do is we'll try to incorporate that into our budget considerations coming this fall. If that's kind of what we're asking for.
Okay, Councillor Creed?
In our Communities in Bloom organization, Gray made a presentation, and we wasn't sure how to handle it, but we had suggested an ad hoc committee for that, and two of us volunteered to be on that committee, but then as I talked to Graham about it, we realized that this was something that's beyond one organization, and Graham communicated back to me that in order to create an ad hoc committee, it needs to go through council so that it can involve the various organizations who the presentations were made and who support this. And so I feel like that's probably the direction that it needs to go, that there needs to be an ad hoc committee set up to do this, unless there's another way, unless we work just through administration.
Marian?
I just wonder why beautification couldn't deal with it on their own with consideration of...
Right.
I don't know what other organizations would necessarily need to be involved. It really does fit under the
Well,
mandate
Historical
of
Society,
beautification.
Economic Development,
But
Chamber of
the
Commerce.
beautification committee could ask for their input.
Mhm.
I just, forming another committee, I just wonder if it's creating a beast that we have to feed.
You know, if council wants to give that direction, I'm fine with that. I can take it back to Communities in Bloom and ask for people from the chamber, from the
It's actually
Historical
beautification
Society.
committee, just to be- because I hope they understand their mandate is beautification, which is kind of more all-encompassing than simply Communities in Bloom, right?
But it does, like I say, it doesn't involve these other
Yeah.
organizations who will support it. But if Communities in Bloom is to take the lead on it, and council wants to give that direction, I'm happy with that.
So we need, so a couple of things here then. Do we need to give administration direction as far as putting these together for budget and everything else for that going forward? Or what is it specifically that you guys were looking for?
If you're looking for it to be driven by the community, or by the beautification committee, then that would be the direction of council, and the beautification committee would put the budget considerations together and work through that and submit that as part of their budget request.
Okay. Councillor?
What did you want to do?
No, you go ahead.
So, just speaking from having been there, the Chamber of Commerce has already voted their support behind the mural projects, in principle, you know, and are willing to do what they can. I agree, I think this should be taken back to beautification, maybe a subcommittee of beautification with some members from Chamber. We've already got ones willing, and maybe some from the community at large. And then, yeah, make sure that, I just would love to make sure taxpayers aren't footing the majority of the bill on the project. I think there needs to be fundraising. I think there needs to be, you know, obviously the Chamber's willing to do some things. So that would be, and I don't know if our direction needs to come by way of motion, or it does.
We need to have a motion to have the beautification committee handle that.
If so, yeah, if so, I'll move then to to have administration direct the beautification committee to create a subcommittee, or however they want to do it, handle that however they want, to talk to the Chamber of Commerce and other organizations and stakeholders, and to come back with some budget numbers on how the council can best assist.
So we're directing the beautification committee to deal with this.
Yep.
Any further discussion on
They may
that?
shoot me over there.
Okay, all in favor? Great, thank you. All right, this is another letter, item D, that came from Economic Development and Tourism Board regarding the E.J. Wood property. And this is just going back, there was at one point a proposal that had been put forward and council was considering selling the property. And so I guess what we need to do is be giving some direction to administration as to whether we would like to pursue something in that vein again. And if so, to take steps to do that.
Just a question, and I'm guessing you were in on those discussions in the economic development. So is there an offer? Is there like a housing proposal?
There is not a firm proposal that's been put forward that.
But there's the possibility.
There's been a number of things that have been continued to be discussed,
Okay.
but nothing that I could even remotely say resembles anything close to an offer of purchase. Just looking for ideas, basically. If we want to direct, as it stands right now, it's a pretty quiet issue. There's nothing happening.
I was on that council when we discussed this E.J. Wood proposal for a housing for seniors. And if I was a senior, I wouldn't want to be right across the street from a school. That's just my own, feelings.
If you're saying.
Yeah, I'm not even going to go down that road. Councillor Green?
Right, yeah, when I was on council, of course, Councillor Edmonds was there as well when they did an RFP, a request for proposal for groups to present a higher density housing for there, and yeah, an offer did come in which we accepted, but the developer wasn't able to come through on it. Personally, I reflect Councillor Bengry's sentiment. There's a lot of events that go on in the Lions Park with the lights on, and sometimes it can be noisy and things like that. And my personal feeling is that the property would be more suitable for something more commercial or more institutional than housing, just because of the proximity to other events.
Did administration have any specific ideas or thoughts?
Not necessarily, just if council wants us to pursue it again, we can resurrect all the information that we had previously for further discussion, but, I guess just one recommendation is, before you consider this, I think you as council need to be clear on your expectations. Because that's one of the things we found difficult was when we put it out for a request for proposals or ideas, I guess at that point. Everyone has a different idea of what they would like to see there, and there was a proposal put forward that council kind of came back and said, no, that's not what we're looking for. So the developer's question to us is, well, what are they looking for, right? So that would just be my only recommendation. Just be clear on your expectations before we go to any kind of public process.
Okay. Councillor Bengry.
See, the council of the day discussed having a wide area between the housing and the hillside so people can watch the football games and whatever, and it went on and on and on, and then finally I think what it says is it died. And I think there could be other uses for that property other than seniors housing.
I don't think anybody here was making the suggestion that that was necessarily what it needed to be. It's just that we do have a piece of property that potentially could be an economic development driver in our community. Maybe we need to pursue some ideas and come up with something. And so the question from the ECDAP board really boils down to is, are we willing to say out loud that this is for sale and we're looking for ideas of what to do with it?
Another brief thought is that in the past, when the council wanted the request for proposal, they were pretty specific, and that's another area where you've got to be careful, where if you tell people, I guess you can tell people exactly what you want and see if somebody wants to build it, but on the other hand, if you're trying to tell people what to do, you're not going to get as many people interested in it. Sometimes it's better to hear be open to, put out a proposal without too many restrictions on it and be open to suggestions, but then be careful that you don't turn them all down either.
So maybe what we should look at is tabling some further discussion on this to when, give ourselves some time to come up with some ideas to give the council some direction on it.
My concern, Mr. Chairman, is this seniors housing thing. We've got how many units already that are condo style units,
Okay, so
throughout the community. How is this going to be an economic driver?
So one, nobody said seniors housing here.
Okay.
That was one thing that was pursued before. But basically, bringing more people into town becomes an economic driver.
The
Councillor?
problem I see is that we don't have anybody beating down our door looking for a piece of land to build on.
That is a concern.
If we had people that were lining up and saying, I'm looking for property,
That's right.
we don't have that. We have all kinds of vacant lots. Sure, you couldn't do a multi-unit complex on this, but we don't have anybody that's really beating down the door at the present time.
Okay. Councillor?
Yeah, the other thing we need to be sensitive to is, I'm sure a Taco Bell right there would do great. However, I don't think that the people on the East Hill would really appreciate that view of the temple. So we have to be really, really careful and really sensitive to kind of the nature of that corner.
A recreation complex or something like that, situated right there would be an ideal situation.
So, again, I'll come back to what my thoughts were, is let's take this back and see what ideas that we can come up with so that we actually have something we can give to administration and direct them as to what we'd like to do.
Can we just ask real quick, do we know what it's currently zoned? Is it just zoned unavailable right now?
Institutional, isn't it?
I believe it's zoned institutional.
Public institutions.
That's where the school.
Right.
For the recommendation to table,
Yeah.
I will make that recommendation, we table this for further discovery,
Okay.
research, discussion.
And we can encourage the Economic Development Committee to, come at us with
Some ideas.
ideas,
Yes,
ideas for
specific
sure.
ideas.
Absolutely.
Okay. That would be great.
So being sensitive to that temple proximity, of course.
Well, Jeff?
Just the one thing why it's come back up is there were multiple proposals for that property when council went through this before. So it wasn't just one that, and circumstances outside the town's control that didn't happen. But there were multiple legitimate proposals there, and those same investors, those same developers may still be interested if they knew it was back on the table. So.
Okay. So, all in favor?
Financial report. Do we need to have a motion to accept this? Okay. Everybody had a chance to review it. Any specific questions that we need to deal with, or can we?
I apologize, I would like to talk to the administration before on this. So on the cash and temporary investments, I was trying to remember in past years if I kept seeing that bracketed figure, and it looks like it's a fairly sizable figure right in there right now.
Yeah.
And so I just wanted to get a little context to see. I was told that we do get in that position from time to time. I just didn't remember seeing that high, especially.
Where are you looking at?
Oh, on the assets, if you go down to the second part where it says assets, the cash and temporary assets is $400,000, over $400,000
We,
bracketed.
yeah, we pay 3% on our line of credit at the bank. This is a time of year when we bill taxes, obviously.
Right.
We get the majority of those in the month of June. So this statement is for
This
the
is
month
from
of April.
this is from April, yeah,
Right.
and I did notice that too.
So because we pay such a nominal fee on the line of credit, we choose not to cash in our long-term investments that are paying at least at that amount or more in some cases. So we try to manage that as carefully as we can. Some of the other things we do, even though the books show 400,000, we may have held back a couple of checks that we would send out when we see some cash flow coming in as well. So the bank account probably, as it currently sat at April, was not in the red by 400, but it's a good question, Councillor, because it is a time of year where
Acapulco check is still in an envelope.
we, yeah, it's like it's in the mail, right? You give me and then we'll send.
Curiosity, if we were to bring it up to date to today's cash flow.
I couldn't tell you that just off the top of my head, I apologize. I would have to.
So if there's no further discussion on that, the chair will entertain a motion to accept that.
Make that motion to accept the financial report as read.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Super. Okay, committee and other reports. We'll take a quick look here at the town council motion list. Any questions, concerns, where we're at on that currently? Okay.
Yeah, no, sorry.
Okay. On the council committee reports, is there anything that anybody has any specific questions on that we would like to address?
Mine wasn't a storybook this time.
Sorry, Mary.
Just, there was, I believe, 3 reports that were put in front of you that weren't there by Friday. So additional reports.
Mine, and somebody else's.
My transfer question. I was not here.
EMS will not be meeting July and August.
Okay.
ECDEV won't be.
That's correct, and ECDEV will not be meeting in July and August. Okay, either.
Parks and Rec.
Or FCSS.
Parks and Rec is in
Parks
July.
and
We
Rec.
do have one.
Communities in Bloom will be meeting during July and August. We have
Excellent.
things on the plate.
Good to see somebody doing
Prime
something.
time.
And I actually, they did actually have a meeting this last Thursday, which I wasn't at because I was away in Utah. And so I just asked for a little update, so that there was things that needed to go on my report. And they basically just addressed that the judging for Communities in Bloom will happen August 11th, I believe, which is the Monday after our parade, if that's the right date I gave you. But it's the Monday after our Heritage Days. And they suggested that they will have a luncheon, and they will probably invite the council, mayor and council, probably at Cobblestone. They'll get a carriage from the Remington Center to take the judges and give them a tour of the community. So council, keep that on your calendar.
For what date?
Let me just look at August and make sure that I've given you the right
Monday
date.
after the...
Monday after
Monday
Heritage
after
Days.
Heritage Days, after
Yeah,
everybody's
so
gone home.
it's,
The Monday before council meeting.
It is
Council's
the Monday
agenda.
before council meeting, right, so.
Councilor Creed, can I ask you, is it beneficial to be a member of Communities in Bloom?
It's a great organization. Yeah, anybody wants to join Communities in Bloom?
No, I think he means
Even
our
from the
town
perspective.
with
Our town on the Communities in Bloom, yes.
collaboration.
I believe it's a national organization.
Right.
And it gives us the potential for national recognition for our community.
What does it cost us a year?
What, you know?
That's a detail in the budget I would have to,
I could find it. It's not more than we pay for some of the arenas that we belong to. So
No, it's not very much.
it's not
substantial.
that much.
Because it's based on population, there's a scale and it's based on.
Is it something that we as a council needs to promote more in our community so that our yards are really spruced up and fences are painted and stained and so forth
I
like
think
that?
that's a great part of it. There's actually Communities in Bloom addresses many more issues than just
Absolutely.
cleanliness. Cleanliness is one of them, displays, but they address heritage preservation. They address environmental action. So there's a lot of areas that we can work on. And I think it gives us a little bit of a blueprint that we can work towards. We have our strategic plan, and a lot of the items in our strategic plan fit sort of hand in glove with some of the Communities in Bloom action items. So I think it's a very worthwhile area to pursue.
Mr. Chairman, could I ask that our councillor with Communities in Bloom bring some of those items back to council so that we can review them and be aware of?
Or just included.
I was just suggesting
Yeah.
that maybe in the report
Yeah, the
that,
next report.
I actually, yeah, I think I might have mentioned them in one of the reports. I'll actually add those in one of my next reports, the various items that Communities of Bloom
Good.
addresses.
fantastic.
Yeah.
Because we'd like to address all of them.
Okay. Any other questions on any of the reports? Marian?
If we can just give an update on the pool, Jeff is going to have to leave here in just a bit, and just as part of the committee reports,
Moving down the street.
Councillor Creed had asked if we could give you an update on the pool.
Absolutely, Jeff, would you please do that for us?
You bet.
Is it true that your children have swam in those waters?
That is the truth. They are frigid waters when my
My own
children
children
swam them,
as well.
I'll tell you that. So, as of today, as you've been by, about probably 2/3 to 3/4 of the decking is poured. All of the mechanicals hooked up and running, so it's been filtering the water for a couple of weeks. We've had 3 or 4 lifeguards working for the last week or so. We've had one in a snorkel getting gravel off the bottom of the deep end. We've had all kinds of fun things there. Having your water in and then doing a lot of your construction presents some interesting scenarios. We've had 2 of them holding up sheets of plywood to keep any concrete splatter off for the last 2 days from the pool, which has worked perfectly. It's been great. So everything's running. The pool is up to temperature. It's got all its chemical in it, so we're just making sure our pH and chlorine stay balanced, and that's working okay. The fencing started today, and everybody, as far as the decking and the fencing, all decking should be done tomorrow afternoon. There'll be some work Thursday and Friday with doing some saw cuts and relief cuts and a few things like that, but the pouring should be done. The fencing should be done Friday. We are anticipating to put out tomorrow, it's so day-to-day right now, but we're hoping to say that we'll be open Saturday from noon to 5 for kind of our this Saturday, for kind of our first soft opening, for lack of a better term. There's still going to be a number of things like the irrigation and sod to finish up around the facility. Acapulco's bringing their truck in to clean everything off the site on Friday, so all of that area on the south will be cleaned up. They got a truck coming across the country to pick all their things up. I'm not doing it, the pool guys and Randy and the lifeguards are doing the training on all the equipment tomorrow. So a gentleman flew out yesterday and started this morning and takes the staff through running all the equipment, maintaining all the equipment, and they spend 3 days with us this week, and then they come back mid-summer, and then they come back again when we close down and shut it down for the year. So we have a 3-part training program that started today loosely and then formally tomorrow. The building's been scrubbed down and soaped and cleaned, and of course it's still the same old building, and we know we're going to have some concerns and comments about that, but we continue to tell people that's phase 2. Water slide donations, we've had some good donations come in. We're within 50 some, probably $60,000 of our $225,000 goal. As you may have heard, the CFEP, the Rotary Club's CFEP grant came through for $100,000. So that was great news. And so we're starting to approach that milestone. There's still a chance we can get those maybe installed. They may not run this year, but we can get them installed still while we're under construction this year. Other than that, there's a million things a day this time of year, this time of the project, when you're 2 or 3 days from trying to let the public in.
The
So,
missing toy is about, what, a month out?
oh yeah, there's one toy that wasn't in the crate with the rest that is part of the project, so it'll be here, we're hoping, soon. It's just a small spray toy, it's not integral to opening or anything, but we wanted as many as we could when we opened, so.
Tell them what you did
Jeff?
Friday night. Maybe not.
So just quickly on Friday night, the plumber was leaving Saturday morning. And so when I was over there, he said, look, I'm leaving, and if you open next week, we need to figure out the strength of the lazy river, the fountain. So myself and my kids, Dave Pilling and his kids, and Councillor Peavoy and his kids, all went down and let our kids try out the different things and the fountains and all that. The problem was he told us the water would be close up to temperature, and it was absolutely freezing cold. I could hardly catch my breath when I went in the water. So we didn't spend a lot of time.
Jeff dived in.
I did dive in, and it was painful. But I did it. And we were able to try out some of those things. So we've actually had on occasion, and the gentleman there today is still trying to mess with a few things, and to have some people in and out and changing the chemicals and changing the flows. So if you hear people saying, well, we saw people in the pool, they absolutely did see people in the pool. During the day, it's been our lifeguards. They've literally been diving with the vacuum down into the deep end and sucking up any rocks that fell in and gravel and all things like that, so.
Jeff, this is looking way ahead, but I was down there when all the buckets were running and the sprayers were moving it, and it looked fun.
Yeah.
What about the preservation of those things during the winter? Are they all taken down?
They're on, all the toys, the palm trees and any of the toys, they're on, for lack of a better term, a cam lock.
Okay.
So they simply just turn and pull. We don't really want everyone to know that really easily, because a couple kids can, but it takes a little more than a couple kids to turn and pull. But yes, they're on essentially a cam lock system, so they come out. We can take the diving board off, we probably don't need to, but yeah, the toys will come out and go inside the building once we close up for the winter.
And how about covers for the pools and the lazy?
We will not have covers for the evenings in this pool, and that's been a bit of an interesting discussion. You can cover the lane pool pretty easily. It's straightforward and it's a rectangle. Covering the other parts, particularly with the toys in them, is nearly impossible. You simply just can't work around it, and you can do it, but it takes a couple of hours to cover at night and then a couple of hours to uncover during the day. So what we've had installed, and it costs us about $1,000 a year. There's actually a chemical that at the end of the day it pumps in and it lays on top of the water to retain the heat, and it dissolves off over the night. And they say that it pays for itself quite quickly, and that it's probably not as effective as a heat blanket, and we may look at one for the lane pool, but their recommendation was to go with the heat chemical.
So we can't use the old covers off the old?
It's not the same size.
Oh,
No. I mean, it's close, but it's not quite the same size. And there's, like those palm trees are in that middle partition all the way down. So,
Yeah.
and the cover had been there since the pool was open too. So,
Are we gonna cover all of that for the winter?
it'll be filled with water, as it normally is. It's filled with water and it freezes. And that
It's
prevents
never
any
been
frost heat.
frozen.
That's how we've always winterized the pool since we've had this one.
So if we fill it with water and it freezes and
Yeah.
expands and then it contracts?
No, it can move up and down, and that's how you winterize outdoor pools. That would be the best practice. And we cover all the filters and skimmers, so no water gets in the system. We clean out the system, and then in this pool, in 2 locations in the pool, there are deep sump holes
Okay.
that before freeze up, we pump all the water to get the ground level down. We keep those pumps running as long as we can so that there's no frost heave underneath the deck. And it's a bit of an interesting system, but at the very north end of the deep end, just outside the deck, there's one, and at the very south side on the shallow end, there's a hole, and we pump those out until they're not running anymore into freeze up. So I'm fairly comfortable that we're okay there. That's how we winterized it this year, because if you remember, the basin was poured last fall, so we filled it with water and let it freeze. Any other questions on that? We'll probably announce tomorrow, if everything looks like it went well with the decking, that we'll be open for those 5 hours on Saturday. And then starting Monday, it'll be regular schedule. And you'll see we still got to do a lot of landscaping work and a lot of cleanup work, and we've got little places that will have temporary fencing so people can't get into, and it's not going to be pretty necessarily, but it will be functional and safe, and that's what we're
Is
going
there
to
going
try.
to be charging on Saturday?
Yeah, we'll do as per normal. We met this morning. We're looking to maybe do a formal grand opening on August 1st. We have to check a couple things with Swim Club that may interfere with their meet, their swim meet. But if it doesn't, that's when we may try and do a formal opening. We'll have any donors come in, we'll cook some hot dogs, we'll have free admission, we'll kind of do a big to-do on that first Saturday in August. It's either the 1st or the 2nd. I
Council be
apologize.
cooking hot dogs?
Well, we might get you down there to do that, that's right.
Councillor Peavoy, do you have
We're
a-
good at that.
Yeah, actually, my question was about the, our plans for a grand opening, ribbon cutting, kind of a deal.
Right.
And, the Chamber of Commerce has volunteered to help, making a big show. They even budgeted for some balloons for
Yeah.
you, so.
So we see kind of a soft opening, we'll get open, we'll get things rolling, we'll continue to work away and then do a big.
And if you want, the chamber can do a soft opening, and then,
Yeah.
the town can do a bigger one. So anyway, I'll
Okay.
talk to you about that.
Okay.
Councillor Bengry?
Jeff, I just wanted to tell you that on behalf of myself, I think you've done a wonderful job keeping this thing in order with the weather conditions the way they've been. I know you've been down, back and forth. I see you wandering down there in the afternoons, in the
That's-
evenings.
It's a hectic time. Dave Pilling's done a great job. We kind of threw him right into the fire. He's only been with us for a year, and this was his first project to come in and manage the pool construction. I will say Acapulco's been great.
Yes.
They're doing great work. Everything's at the exact budget they quoted us. They have we pushed a little bit in time, but we've had some weather. We had a terrible spring. It didn't warm up very well, but they've been great. They have
Fall that too.
people helping us all the time. So yeah, the partners here, even our local guys that did the cement and the painting and the decking, and all those guys, they've come when we needed them, and they've done great work. So yeah, we haven't had, and knock on wood, we haven't had any major incidents with this construction project, and we can see the end. So I'm really optimistic about how it's going to end up and how it's been.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you.
Especially appreciate you taking one for the team and jumping into the cold.
Once I was in, it was actually my pleasure. I had a lot of fun.
You didn't have sponsors though.
What's that?
You didn't have sponsors. You should have had sponsors.
Yeah? No. Yeah, that's right.
Yes. So the Orsk MGA review? Sorry.
Mr. Barfuss, indulge me for just 1 minute. I had one more.
Yeah, absolutely.
With the community movement. I'd just like to ask your help as a council, and if people might want to make comments, because the president of Communities in Bloom called me earlier this afternoon and asked me to check out the flags on Main Street before I came here. As I mentioned in my report, we purchased some banner flags, which are quite large, and they mount vertically on the light standards on Main Street, and maybe some of you have seen them. Anyway, I wasn't sure what the president was saying, but she said they mounted some one way and some the old way, hanging out. So when I looked, I saw that they had actually mounted our banner flags the way we wanted them mounted, but they'd also put up the old flags from previous years, which mount on an angle and hang down, and they thought it looked funny. I guess this becomes to a personal choice of taste, where we have some banner flags mounted vertically, and we have some flags hanging out, on an angle on the pole, just the cloth flags, and we have actually both now. So we'd like a little direction from maybe council and the community if that's the way.
Do you have enough of
You like
one
it.
kind to cover all of the poles?
I think they mounted all the banner flags, so no, there aren't enough of both kinds of flags to cover all of the poles. So now
So what does it hurt to have these other ones?
that's the input that we need, is that
I don't think it hurts
if
at all.
you think it looks great having both styles, and if people think it looks great having both styles, I'm okay with it. I haven't got a personal opinion one way or the other, but
As far as I'm concerned, hang them both, this is my own opinion, hang them both until we get enough of one kind.
okay.
Just a question, is this just a seasonal thing, like?
This is a seasonal
just
thing.
July,
This
kind of
is just summer.
Yeah, oh, summer, so all summer the flags will
The
be.
flags, the banner flags were purchased with a good material. It should hold up. I don't know if I still don't think they want to hold those all year, but I think it'll be a seasonal
Takes our crew a long time to put those up. And
seasonal thing.
I'd hate to send them back out there and say, hey, we need to remove these and this and this.
Well, maybe for future years or something.
Well, like I said, until we get enough of the one style to cover our Main Street, I think they're not out of line.
So I think we should work a plan to, in the future, get enough banner flags so that we do put them all the same.
Yeah.
I think that is a great discussion for the beautification committee.
Thank you.
That, when my wife asks me if a dress looks good, they all look good, so whatever you guys decide.
Well, like I said, it's labor intensive to put those
Yeah,
things up, and
I understand.
you know.
Sure,
Our
no,
crew have done a tremendous job.
I wouldn't ask them to go there.
Considering what they've been through this last couple of weeks.
Marian?
Yeah, just one other thing to keep in mind, because we did spend quite a bit of money on those brackets and those other flags as well.
Right.
So the question was asked to me, do we put them both up? And I said, well, beautification committee didn't say otherwise, so put them both up.
No, that's fine, I understand.
But we want to be careful that we don't just continually change things
You're right.
and we waste kind of some money that we've spent on other.
No, all I'm just asking for is a little feedback, because this was just a little I got from the president of the beautification committee. So if there's other feedback that comes, we share it with me.
Leave them for now.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, do have to wait for all this other stuff first.
Sorry.
Orsk MGA review submission, everybody had a chance to review that. Not really much for us to do on that, obviously, unless you want to.
Information purposes.
Just information purposes. So we'll drop down to D and our CAO report.
This should be good.
What would you say?
Everybody had a chance to review Marian's comments there. Marian, did you want to add anything further?
No.
Marian's actually got to leave tonight to head up north, so we want to try to move things along as much as possible.
It's fine.
Yeah.
Always a good report.
Marian, with the move of the staff from Fortis, are we still going to be able to get the same service?
Merlin is telling me yes, because they're dispatched quite differently than they used to be anyway. But he said if there's any concerns, by all means, we need to notify them.
So what are they going to do with that office?
Right now, they're not doing anything with it. They're using it still for some materials and those kind of things. They have no intent in selling it or disposing of it at this point, yeah.
All right.
Related to, if I could, and maybe we should have asked Lloyd when he was here, but have we done anything about the soccer man-eating dog?
We captured that dog on Friday in the back of an RCMP car, and it is still in the impound.
Still what?
It's in the impound.
It's all right.
It's a dangerous dog.
Been
Yes.
two people.
That's up for debate. So right now, there's a substantial amount of fines prior to the individual being able to get the dog back. So like I said, it's been in since Friday. They were notified, and it's, it probably, if it's not, the fines aren't paid and the dog claimed in another day or two, it will be dealt with.
At this point, I need to again invoke our Mayor Maggie. She's in her email asked that I let administration know how absolutely thrilled she was with the way things were handled over this last week. So from our mayor, thank you. Very well.
Thanks to our staff, they did a great job.
Yeah, they did.
It was interesting, I woke up at 4 o'clock in the morning up in Calgary, and I couldn't get the town of Cardston flooding off my mind, so I just thought, well, I'm going to dial the town just in case somebody's there, and Graham was there, and give me a full update on what was going on with you fellows, and I really appreciate the action that you took too. It kind of put my mind at ease what was going on. We were in good hands, and I didn't call the mayor to wake her up. I talked to her at 7:30 in the morning, and she kind of chewed me up for not calling her at 4 o'clock. I said I wasn't going to take that chance, but I appreciate what you've done as well. It was great. Well, her and I were at other meetings.
So,
Thank you.
Item E, our Cultural Days Grant. Did you want to address this directly, Marian?
I'd love to. We just got an email yesterday, so I thought I would update the committee and council that we were not approved for any funding.
Any?
Any funding
Oh,
at all.
wow, I thought we were shooing.
Why did they ask us to apply?
So 92 communities
There's
were
90.
approved?
Yeah,
Or 92 grants were approved?
Wow, and we weren't one of them.
92 official celebration sites. The closest to us is Nanton and Raymond. There's 3 in Lethbridge, 18 sites in Edmonton, 16 in Calgary, and then they're dispersed. Medicine Hat, Red Deer, some of those got 3 sites as well, but I guess what I'm going to need to do is have the councillors that were on that committee meet with the staff again and decide what projects you still want to move forward with, because some of those won't happen without the grant funding. So if I could ask you to do that fairly soon so that we can notify the other organizations that were involved. Okay?
Yeah. And I would suggest we maybe try to convince the Blood Tribe that that's a good source for the money to be, culture use.
Okay, correspondence. The first one, A, from the Alberta government. Everybody's had a chance to read them, so we don't really spend much time on these.
Yeah.
The AMA, the 2 from there, Alberta Municipal Affairs, Alta Lake, and then E was a letter from Denise Norton on early childhood development. And I believe that Marian actually saw some interesting things that the mayor may be interested in meeting with her on that. So we'll leave those to go as they go. And with that, there's no further questions. Thank you. All in favor?
Move pretty fast. At least I read them, so.
Read them in advance.
Oh, I
Not spending any time on
No, I
them.
read it. But